It's impossible to play Dota for any amount of time without building some sort of intuition for how tower aggro works. However, I would wager most players don't actually understand the exact mechanics, instead relying on tidbits they've learned over time and years of experience. Originally, this video was just going to be a detailed explanation of those mechanics, basically summarizing the already publicly available information. But what I found while doing experiments for this video is that most of that information is outdated. In fact, I could not find a single source that comprehensively explains all the mechanics of tower aggro as it is working today. So let this be that resource. Let's figure out how tower aggro works. The first thing to understand is tower attack priority. Think of this as the default way a tower chooses its target. Whenever the tower is no longer able to attack its current target, it will choose a new target of the highest priority. These priorities are, starting with the lowest, wards, then siege creeps, then the closest enemy, then the closest enemy attacking an ally of the tower, then the closest enemy attacking the tower. Note that I'm leaving an asterisk on that last point. In practical terms, what this means is that when a creep dies, you need to be further away than another unit with the same priority as you, or be at a lower priority level yourself. Because creeps are always attacking either the tower or an ally of the tower, that basically means to just be further away from the tower than them. Or just make sure you aren't hitting the tower when a creep dies. So that's how the tower chooses new targets when it can no longer hit its current target. However, in some cases, the tower can also switch targets immediately. The first situation is if the tower is currently targeting a siege creep or a ward. These units are so low priority that if another unit comes within range, the tower will instantly swap to target them. The second situation is if you are currently being targeted by the tower and issue an attack on an ally. This attack can happen from any range, so you can even trigger this by attacking an ally hero on the top bar. But be careful, once you reset aggro in this way, there is a 2.5 second cooldown before you can do it again. So if you re-aggro the tower immediately after resetting, you're leaving yourself vulnerable to the tower. The final way to make the tower immediately change aggro is to attack an enemy hero while within 500 range of the tower. It doesn't matter if the enemy is close to the tower. In fact, the enemy can be anywhere on the map. Again, as long as you have vision of them, you can attack an enemy hero on the top bar in order to instantly take aggro, as long as you are close enough to the tower. Now here's the first thing that surprised me when I was making this video. Where do you think that 500 range is? For me, I knew that the tower had 700 attack range, so I thought that meant that there was 200 range where you could safely attack enemy heroes. But that's wrong. Here is the 500 radius circle. It's way smaller than I thought it would be. There's no way that's 200 range from the tower's maximum attack range. What gives? Well, even though the tower has 700 attack range, the circle that represents that range actually has a radius of 868. You see, in Dota, when calculating a unit's attack range, you're not measuring distance from the center of the unit. You're actually measuring distance using something called the whole radius. This is basically a circle that represents the size of a unit. When calculating if an enemy is in range, you add your whole radius, plus your attack range, plus the whole radius of your target. So for our tower, that means taking the tower's whole radius of 144, plus 700 attack range, plus 24, which is the standard whole radius for a hero, or 868. You can kind of see this when you hover a tower's attack range. The range it shows is its whole radius plus its attack range, but doesn't include the whole radius of the target, because that could be anything. You can see the implications of this if you pick a hero with a smaller hull radius, like Phantom Lancer, who has a hull radius of 8. You can actually walk into the area between circles without drawing aggro. You can also throw down a ward in this spot. The tower will be able to see it with its true sight, but not be able to attack it. Okay, so the tower's actual effective attack range is 868, not 700. So you actually have 368 range, not 200, to play with before the tower will aggro you. Doing some quick math, that means that the danger zone only takes up 1/3 of the total area within the tower's range. Note that attacking heroes outside this zone still draws creep aggro, even if the tower ignores you. So you still have to be careful. But as long as you stay in the safe zone and are further away than any of your creeps, you'll be safe. Okay, so you're safe if you attack someone from within the safe zone, but in trouble if you attack someone while within the danger zone. But what if you issue the attack from inside the safe zone, but then need to walk into the danger zone to actually start the attack? Let's try it out. I issue an attack from about 600 range, then walk into the circle, and at first I don't draw aggro. But after a couple of seconds, and without the tower losing its current target, it changes to attack me. What gives? It turns out when you target an enemy in this way, you start a 4-second timer. During this time, you're free to hit the enemy as long as you don't issue another attack command. Once those 4 seconds are up, if you start an attack within the zone, you will instantly draw aggro. To better explain this, let's do some examples. Example 1. I attack the enemy from inside the safe zone and walk in to attack. After 4 seconds, the tower shifts targets to me. Example 2. I attack the enemy from the safe zone and walk into attack. This time, before the 4 seconds expire, I stop attacking. Even though I'm still in the danger zone, I'm safe from tower aggro. I can leave the zone and repeat the process. Example 3. I issue an attack from far outside the zone. The 4-second timer starts when I issue the attack, so by the time I enter the zone, the timer has elapsed. However, the tower does not aggro me until I actually begin the attack. Okay, so that's about everything you need to know about the 500 range danger zone. Now let's talk about the 700 range danger zone. Remember this asterisk I mentioned when discussing tower attack priority? Well, it is true that the tower will prioritize units that are attacking it. That's only if the unit attacking it is within 700 range. And that's not 700 attack range, that's 700 center to center range. In other words, if you have more than 550 attack range, you can safely hit the tower from outside of 700 range and avoid being prioritized, even if no other units are hitting the tower. I kind of feel like this is a bug. Like, someone at Valve coded in an exception to aggro at 700 range, assuming that meant that they were outside of tower range, not realizing that they needed to take into account the whole radius. But it means that if you have enough attack range, you can just right-click the tower through an entire creep wave without ever drawing aggro. In conclusion, Dota, especially in the laning stage, is a game of inches. One of the biggest differences between high and low level players is simply the number of attacks they're able to get in on enemy heroes in between last hits. If you're afraid of tower aggro because you don't understand it, you're not going to be able to get those extra hits in, or you will overextend and get hit by the tower, which is even worse. Getting comfortable hitting enemies under tower is one of the most valuable skills you can learn. And in order to be comfortable, you need to understand how the tower works. So try going into demo mode and practice these tricks for yourself. I promise they'll make a difference.